This is the Neoliberal Round podcast. Welcome to another episode of the Neoliberal Round podcast. It's a Sunday afternoon. Earlier, I had an audio conversation with a guest, George Thomas III. We were talking. George Thomas is a professor, and he was a co-host or a guest on the Neoliberal Round podcast, helping me talking, and just he was helping me talk about what's going on in education in Philadelphia, and the fact that schools are opening earlier than usual, and the fact that many students are upset about that. But we talked about that a little bit, and that's coming up next on the Neoliberal Round podcast. Please visit us at anchor.fm/the Neoliberal and you can find we're available on any podcast stream. We're also available on YouTube at Renaldo McKenzie. Anchor.fm/the Neoliberal is our main podcast platform, and you can find all the other streams that we listen to if you go to anchor.fm/the Neoliberal. Visit us at theneoliberal.com and renaldocmckenzie.com.
How can they allow the schools to get to, and it's funding, and I get it. It's funding, and it comes from the government because they cut education funding, you know. So, however, we still can't allow that to take away from, you understand, providing our teachers with the tools that they need, you understand, in order for them to be able to teach the children at the levels that they should be comparative to, other school systems.
Yeah. The import, I mean, one of the things that's concerning though is that fin they have closed some of the schools in Philadelphia. I think they
Yep.
closed about 20 schools,
Yep.
and that's another factor, you know what I mean? They closed 20 schools. So now we already have overcrowding in schools in Philadelphia, particularly. And now we have closed certain schools. I don't know that if they, I don't know or I've heard of them building any new buildings or any to deal with the overflow, with the crowding, with those schools that they have closed, the 20 schools that they have closed, and more in the works. I don't know if we are equipped to dealing with the overcrowding. I don't think so. I don't know if that's why they've decided to Philadelphia school district start to open. They've decided to open the Philadelphia school district. The school district have decided to open up schools earlier this year, August 24th. I think some schools start August 20th for new students. New students are going to be going in, I think, August 20th, but a majority of the schools are open by August 24th. But I don't know. I mean, that's another factor. We already have overcrowding and we have school that's closing. How are they dealing with that? What's the plan to deal with that? I haven't heard any
Yeah.
effective conversation about that.
Because there hasn't been, you know. It's just been a lot of like justification and attempts to rationalize, the reasons for the school. There's been so much concentration on school closure as opposed to improving curriculum, as
Yeah.
opposed to improving outcomes. Where are the studies that we should be having comparison to the school districts, you understand, in major cities that are performing well?
Yeah,
What do they do?
yeah,
You know,
that's true. And I think part of learning is leisure. Part of learning is, and so I believe that,
fun.
yeah, fun. All work and no play makes Jack a dull boy. So the students need time to. So I know they're trying to catch up and they're talking about students are far behind, and Philadelphia is one of the only school districts. I mean, I don't know if any other district that starts this early in this summer. Usually, one the con I'm here talking with it's George about the school district. Welcome to the Neoliberal Room podcast. And we have a guest with us. George is helping us distill some of the George helping us distill some of the issues relating to the the Philadelphia school district deciding to open up the schools earlier. And what we're saying is that, I mean, right now I'm in Long Branch. Their school doesn't start until this after Labor Day. Um, of course, but we know that Long Branch, the students perform markedly better than in Philadelphia, but and I don't know if they deal with overcrowding, but I think one time in Neptune they were dealing with overcrowding. But I don't know if it's the same, but not all schools. But anyway, particularly Philadelphia, they decided to open up school earlier. The students have become so political because now I hear that they hate Mayor Parker. Okay. I don't know if these school students can vote, but they don't like Mayor Parker because they believe that she is creating, not only are they closing schools, but they're opening up schools early. So there's two reasons why they don't like her. Okay, the students. The students weren't as political as they are now. But anyways, usually they'll blame their parents. Now they're blaming the politicians. Okay. But school has this, they're opening up schools earlier, and what George has talked about, the school. I mean, we are far. I mean, to catch up with the rest of the world. One and two, we have talked about competency. If to develop competency, students should be able to. It doesn't necessarily depend on how the school days. They have to become more creative. But of course, George referenced the fact that salaries being low, and what they need to do is really pay teachers more, and that's part of the problem. In order to fix the school district, school the competency levels and the literacy rate, we have to also fix the pay rate. Yes?
Yeah, and yes, and with respect to, you know, we always should be concentrating on, our children receiving what is Philadelphia School System, what have they done, collect data from other large metropolitan areas of the district where the students are performing, you understand, at an optimal level, you understand, the wealthy. Another thing is that we need to also, continue to keep at the forefront of the conversation is how are we paying our teachers? You understand, our teachers right now in the city of Philadelphia, you understand, are really inundated, overcrowded. You understand, the schools that they're working in are, a lot of them are in care. You understand, a lot of them don't even have the basic resources in order to offer, you understand, those improved or high quality lesson plans in order to create an environment, you understand, that's conducive for learning.
Yeah, that's true. And I think one of the things that you have, I mean, right now some of the schools are closing because I know that offers are being made to a lot of schools in Philadelphia they turn them into condos and charge $2,000 and $3,000 a month for rent. I think the city is more apt to want to make more money um, by allowing developers to come in and throw money at the city. I think the city would be best served if we were to invest in education, not necessarily through closing the school. When you invest in education, you develop your people, you develop the people and the currency, and then they can help you to make more money and become more marketable. But they've decided to close the schools and turn them into condos, and selling the schools. The schools that they're closing, they're selling them to developers and they're turning them into condos, which is quite alarming and disconcerting. I don't believe that that should have happened. They should be getting trying to work with developers to improve the aesthetics of schools and so on, but that's not being done. I don't know if they're going to make more classrooms over the next couple days, weeks, months to facilitate the increase in terms of school attendance given the closures in schools. Now, one of the things that George pointed out earlier, George is a professor, by the way, and one of the things that he pointed out earlier was that he doesn't students shouldn't be punished, and I agree with that. Students shouldn't be punished um, because they're falling behind. I mean, we shouldn't take away their summertime. We shouldn't cut it down. Okay, and I agree. I think if I believe it's more like it seems more like punishment than anything else, and so we have to find more creative ways to improving outcomes in schools. I think I interviewed the superintendent of school in DC. She had some innovative plans in terms of improving outcomes and making students vocationally ready, um, and and kind of reworking how schools are preparing and teaching students. And I think, and I did a podcast about that. You know, I think that's what needs to happen. You know, so
Yeah, and I also think, and I love that, that DC is, they're using innovative approaches, you understand, to, address some of their concerns. And, I also think that basically, because I found, when we give people the power of choice, you understand, and I'm speaking regarding our students, right? So if we were to propose, right, that if a student wanted to start school early to specifically engage in one of these innovative programs, you understand that would help them, excel, you know what I mean? Then that would be more of a more fair, you understand, solution. you know, the students and the parents would have, the ability to say, yeah, my child, you understand, or the student is interested in learning. You understand, is willing to cut their summer. And I mean cut their summer meaning by, just half days. You understand? So there's a balance, but they're being incentivized, you know, in participating, in going back to school earlier where they are, experiencing and working towards the results in order for them, you understand, to enhance their, educational goals. I would be more open to something like that. You understand, as opposed to just the masses, everyone, you just go to school, what is it, 2 weeks, almost 3 weeks earlier? Because of what? You understand? Like the point that you raised earlier, Ronaldo, them going to school earlier, how is that going to address better outcomes?
and
You
that's
know?
true. And by the way, I made an error. I spoke in error earlier. It's not DC. I interviewed the one of the candidates, and I am not sure if she won, who was running for superintendent of school in Georgia. And we talked about student outcome. And by the way, in 2026, Georgia's students, they continue to show improvement in mathematics, in science, and social studies in the 2025 to 2026 Georgia mathematics assessment with some all-time high in mathematics. I believe they are one of the best performing school district is Georgia, and they have some innovative program in terms of school choice and how school is organized. They are not cutting down the school days, okay, in order to do really well, and they have diverse areas as well. So I think what we need to do is we need to study what's going on in Georgia and see how we can apply that here in Philadelphia. How can we can learn from what's going on? How are they having the kind of improvement? I mean, the students are achieving proficiency in learning, proficiency learning levels, that's, I mean, which is which is above increase, or it's it's steady increases. And I understand that, I think I was speaking with the superintendent, and she really had some really positive things to say about Georgia. And I've been doing some reading about what's going on in Georgia. I think the state school superintendent is Richard Wood, and he's been saying that teachers, school leaders, district team students, and families, they deserve tremendous credit for the progress that they're seeing in math. And I think that we can be done. How they're doing it? By being innovative, that they're being very and providing more choice. And they have a literacy program there. So I mean, it's quite powerful. Um, and
So it sounds like that Georgia is thinking outside the box, you know, and I'm sure you understand that, their resources, are probably just as limited as Philadelphia School District's resources. However, through their innovation, you understand they have, successfully, identified, ways in helping their students to improve in those different subjects, evidenced by those standardized testing results.
Well, you know what? I am happy you said evidence by that, because I think one of the things that we alluded to, and one of the things that I spoke with, the Georgia superintendent, they were saying that they're strengthening instruction through evidence-based practices. So educators, what they do is that they receive expanded professional learning grounded in the science of learning, how students learn, effective instructional practices across all content. Your police reported ahead. So, they're really making it student focused and student centered, and providing students with more choices, and looking at you really tailoring learning to the student's strengths. And I'm a big advocate and proponent of that. Of course, you know that. I mean, I am a professor as well. I set an exam even among colleges. When we think about colleges, I set an exam the other day, and I set the exam based on the students. I thought about the students. Some students are good in terms of doing quantitative testing. Other students are better at qualitative testing. Some people like multiple choice, true and false, so on and so forth, and others don't. And some students like essay and so on, and others don't. So, and I think what I did was to give it a 50-50, 50% qualitative, 50% quantitative, based on, because I didn't want the exam and the way and my style of teaching to favor one type of students. Okay, because then it's going to
Right.
be unfair to those students. So I think, but we have to put money, and I just said that we have to put money in the education system. We have to invest into education system to get the talent, to get the teachers that we want, to get the talent, to pay them more, to get the talent that's willing to spend the time to focus on teaching in a certain type of way, and also develop evidence-based practices, evidence-based teaching, get to know the students. That's very important.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with that. I agree, and that's how you understand by offering, our teachers, you understand the most innovative, training and best practices in how it relates to today's student. You understand versus maybe 5, maybe 10 years ago. You
Yeah,
understand, and making sure that we are incorporating the different learning styles in curriculum. You understand that we are engaging. You understand the student, and then also we're taking into consideration. You understand the not just the micro issues, but the macro issues that today's students face. You understand, in even trying to make it to school every day.
yeah, that is true. And so I'm hoping that we are able to really we look at what's going on in schools in Philadelphia, so that we can make school and we can make our students just competitive. And you're a professor as well, and you're also someone who's it you work at that one of the, I mean, in a super executive or level, as well as a director. And so what are you seeing in terms of the competency and the kind of staffing and so on? Do you think that the schools are putting out people um, that that we have to be retraining them how to read and write and do math, and or maybe they come with certain levels that's not adequate for the professional world? Of course, George Thomas is a professor. I mean, he's also a coordinator at universities here in Philadelphia, colleges in Philadelphia, and what are you seeing from your end?
Um, I'm seeing an increase, Ronaldo, of students that are in need of more attention with regards to the remedial skills.
Yeah,
You understand, that should be provided, first of all, at the basic college level. I teach, at the associate level. I also teach at the bachelor's and master's level. And, there are some, you understand, community colleges, there's two that I can think of that do a really, really great job in helping the students, you understand, that are coming in to
There are
focus
police
on,
reported ahead.
the more remedial, learning how to write essays, learning what punctuation is, learning, you understand, sentence structure. How about spelling? You understand? How about putting ideas together and referencing and teaching them the importance of that? You understand? Because, those are skills that are going to carry them to any type of profession that they would like to go to. And a lot of it has come from many of the students I've noticed, you understand, in comparison to students that have graduated from the school district of Philadelphia school system and students that have graduated from other counties in Pennsylvania, and those vast differences in quality, you understand, of, the students, being, college level ready, you understand, in order to meet the demands, of college. And not just meet the demands, but being able to perform not, you know, not at an excellent level, but just to be able to perform, you understand, at a minimum level. So yes, I've definitely seen an increase of students that are coming in, to the 2 year and the 4 year schools unprepared.
yes. Well, thank you so much. This is the Neoliberal podcast. It's a Sunday. We're having just a casual conversation about beginning with the fact that many a Philadelphia school district is planning on will open its doors to students earlier this year. Of course, every year they open their doors earlier since COVID. But I don't know if they're making any marked improvements in terms of outcomes and literacy rates. So, um, I'm hoping that we can learn from what other people are doing and see how we can implement it here and not necessarily punish students by cutting down their free time. This is the Neoliberal Podcast. I'm joined today by George Thomas the third. I appreciate that he could come on the show and provide and help us to with this to talk about school and the education. Thank you so much, George.
Well, you're welcome, and I want to, thank you, Ronaldo, and the Neoliberal for, everything that, you and your company does in trying to put, relevant information out there, you understand, on social media, so we can continue to have these conversations to hopefully to motivate and facilitate change.
Yes, most definitely. Thank you so much. And we're all about serving the world today to solve tomorrow's challenges by making popular what was the monopoly. Visit us at theneoliberal.com, renaldocmckenzie.com. And of course, we're available on all platforms. Of course, you can find your stream by going to anchor.fm/the neoliberal and on YouTube at Renaldo McKenzie. Please email us at info@theneoliberal.com and call us at 445-260-9198. And don't forget my book, Neoliberalism, is available. It's on Barnes& and Noble. It's on eBay, Walmart, Amazon, and it's also available in the Audible. Of course, you can get a copy of the book by going to store.theneoliberal.com. Walk good.